maybe like little things.
I guess that's very much my little thing.
Welcome back to Little Things, the self-care podcast where I ask my favorite people about the little things that make them happy in the hopes that I learn some stuff about how to make my own life more meaningful. So speaking to so many people about their little things and how they bring meaning to their lives, and was kind of thinking about what I was going to say in this intro and put pressure on myself to have all the answers. But we are early on in this series and I'm not going to be able to figure out exactly what my little things are yet until I try more things. Since we last chatted, I've been thinking a lot about my conversation with Vic because I've been following along with her account Mannequin Hands for a while. She does some really incredible nail designs and I am in fact a nail girly. So that chat to me was really, really interesting. I thought we'd have a lot in common and like fundamentally I think we do. But her approach to routine is wild. Like her planning, oh, this person is leaving my studio. Let me go eat my lunch for like 3 minutes before my next person comes. Like being that regimented with your time is just like a world that I cannot even fathom. So that whole chat was super, super fascinating. But learned so much from her. Now today, I'm speaking to someone who is, I guess, far less regimented. Remy is a really beautiful ceramicist. He's really practicing what he preaches in terms of making things with his hands and kind of slow living. He's really intentional about like the things he surrounds himself with and how that relates back to his journey through life, whether that's like living in the French countryside, what a fantasy world Remy lived in for a few years, during his time in Barcelona, or work that he's made with friends more recently. There's so much interesting stuff here about really taking time for yourself and valuing your own self-care, sometimes by saying no to other people, which to me as a people pleaser, I was like, oh my God. But I think was really, really interesting. So yeah, I think you'll love this chat. Obviously a huge shout out to Angostura Bitters for sponsoring this series and can't wait for you to hear from Remy. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's exciting to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So I have to ask you, what is your little thing?
I guess for me, my little thing is totally about making handmade pottery and ceramics.
So doing stuff with your hands.
Doing stuff with my hands and working things out with my hands and how that impacts kind of all the other parts of my life. And for me, that's a lot of like food stuff. So like handmade ceramics and food, but which is also goes into big time into my social life. And yeah, that's very much my little thing.
Where was it born from? Where did you start? Like, how did you know you wanted to create stuff with your hands?
I guess it really started when I was doing art in high school and I was like, whoa, this is incredible. And I got on a real roll and I was totally bewitched by it. And then I went to art school because I was really interested in being a painter. And then I found ceramics there. And also the painting department was just filled with like lots of like men always wearing black all the time and taking themselves quite seriously. Whereas the ceramics department just had a really great, pretty magical energy that I found very attractive. And then I started wheel throwing there and I was like, whoa.
Wheel throwing. So that's like in Ghost. People say that to you all the time.
They say that to me all the time. But yes, it is exactly that.
Have you done that scene with your partner?
No. In fact, I have a pretty like stern no ghost rule, you know?
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you're like, I'm going to be taken seriously. Thank you.
Yeah, no, like it's a gorgeous thing that other people do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, okay. So I went on a little holiday to Japan. And I was like, whoa, ceramics is really where it's at. Like, just everywhere. I went homes and restaurants and galleries, and I was just, like, blown away by how ceramics was so varied and how beautiful handmade things really can impact so many different spaces.
Do you have, like, a favorite handmade thing that you make or that you appreciate?
The favorite thing that I make is a bit like my favorite song. Like, it does change regularly. At the moment, it's this kind of jar that I have next to my stove that I keep salt in that I just look at and I go, how did I do that, you know? So I can make a really pretty crap meal and I put it in something beautiful and I go, wow, I've really succeeded today, or like I've made some kind of accomplishment. You know, it does kind of transform this thing.
I think it also makes you feel like more of a grown-up almost.
Yeah.
Like actually taking the time to not eat out of a plastic container. I'm talking about myself. And just taking that beat to actually present things in a way and like treat yourself with kindness in that way is super interesting, I guess, and just elevates that whole experience.
Yeah, and it is, for me, like it's such a normal part of my life now because it's just the scene I've been in for so long. But I really do believe that it has made my life better. Being able to interact with these things that I really care a lot about. And because, not only because they were made by me, like honestly, the things that I make are the ones I care least about. But the things that were made by people I really love or people I don't get to see as much or anymore, like to have a little slice of some part of them around me is really like a magical part of it for me.
Wow, you're such an evolved human, I feel. How many actual pieces of your own would you have in your house right now?
Oh, okay.
And how many are meant to be gifted to other people that you've kept?
Okay. No, okay. Very often it's like more the other way around. Like often I'll be like, oh, damn, like this person's birthday is now and I haven't got anything. I'll just reach into the cupboard and take something
You
with
are
me.
actually a good friend to have, I feel.
Well, you never expect a
'Cause
bag
you're gonna
from me for
get-
Christmas.
yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%.
Like, you're getting a piece
Don't
of
expect
pottery
a card.
always. Really, the stuff of mine, like often it's the crap pieces that I keep, the ones that I can't sell that I'll keep, but it's the stuff I've collected, the things that were gifted to me or I bought over the years. Those are the things I really care about.
I need to collect more. I feel like everyone talks about this, like collecting things, and we talk about it on Little Things as a concept and a way to kind of ground yourself in yourself, I guess. Like these are the things that I've collected over time that mean something to me from various places that I've lived.
Totally.
Is what I should be doing.
Yeah.
But I actually my vibe is, and my boyfriend's always like, oh, we're holidaying or like whatever we might be doing. Let's buy this and have this as like a piece of art it's worth the money. And I'm always like, no, don't spend the money. And then I always regret it because then I have like stuff that doesn't really matter.
Totally. I think for me, I've never regretted buying a bit of art.
Yeah.
I've often regretted buying a meal out or some clothes or something.
True.
But never actually regretted buying a bit of art.
I don't know if I've regretted any of those three things. Actually, I don't think I regret any of them. And you never regret travel.
Yeah.
So can you tell me one of the stories behind these objects though?
Well, there's so many objects now. I've got so many. But there's a couple that get a special mention. Like a lot of these pots made by friends of mine that I had in France or in Spain are really, really special to me. Just because I'd never get to see those people. And it's nice to have a little slice of them close to me. And like a slice of them that reminds me of like a kind of a previous life of mine where it was very different to how I live my everyday now. One of my favorite pieces is this gorgeous plate that a friend of mine made. And she, a couple years after making it, we studied together at uni. She passed away. So I still really, really, it's really magical to have a little bit of her around. But this plate it sits right next to my bed. It's really funny as well. It's got she drew a picture of like kind of an Esches lad on it that says something really silly. And then she inscribed a message to me on the back that I read every now and again.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, I still get to have a little bit of her nearby, which is so special.
So obviously I did a bit of stalking and found out you lived in the French countryside, which is super cool. What was that like?
So when I finished my degree here in Sydney, like I really wanted to keep learning, but I really didn't want any more student debt. And one of my teachers hooked me up with a friend of hers who lived in this little French village about 2 hours south of Paris called Le Borgne. So they'd been making pots there for like 800-ish years. And there's lots of ceramics and lots of people making ceramics there. And I kind of went there and cycled around until I got a job as an apprentice for someone.
That's pretty crazy, 800 years. And has the practice changed very much in that whole time?
Hugely, yeah, hugely. And right now it's an incredibly contemporary scene. Like there's lots of different artists from all over the world that live and work there. But there is definitely a traditional style of pottery from that region. So they would produce like storage containers, for example, that all had like the same aesthetic look and exactly the same shape. And I was living in this gorgeous little village working with a potter, and she had a range of domestic ware that she made, and I was helping her every day. And I would cycle from the little cottage that I lived in down over to her place, which was always really, really gorgeous. Yeah.
It sounds like a slower pace of life.
It very much was. Like, it was, in a lot of ways, it was incredibly idyllic. Like, when I arrived, it was when the canola fields were in bloom. So, like, as far as the eye could see were fluoro yellow flowers. And I would, like, cycle to the farm to buy my cheese and stuff like that. You know, it was really beautiful.
You were all in on the French experience.
Totally.
Yep.
But it was really funny because, like, I would cycle to work every day, and I kind of realized then, I was like, I didn't love cycling. And I was like, if I don't love it here, like, I really just don't like cycling.
Yeah,
you know?
fair enough. You're like, I'm really trying, guys.
I tried so hard for like a year. Like, I really tried, you know?
In the cold?
When it was cold, it was really unpleasant, yeah.
How long was the cycle?
Okay, on the way there, because it was at the top of the hill, and then 10 kilometers at the bottom of the hill was my work. So getting there, really quick. Getting home every day,
Which is
Ouch.
the worst way around.
Yeah.
You kind of want to do the hard part. up
Totally.
top.
Lots of cows, lots of beautiful little cows running around. And I worked out, like, there was this one herd of cows kind of halfway through that I worked out if I sung loud enough the right song that they sometimes would start following me and chasing me as I cycled past them. And they loved Shakira, strangely enough.
So that sounds like a really idyllic time of your life. Certainly like a slower time of life compared to maybe what you had grown up with in Sydney. It is brave to go out there and be like, I am going to give art a crack in a very, very real way, both financially, but also taking yourself seriously.
Totally. Look, I was kind of toying between going to art school, or I was enrolled to do a nursing degree. So I was kind of toying with those two things. And I just thought, give art school a go at least, because I had been so enchanted by it at high school. I had an incredible teacher there who was incredibly supportive. And also I was doing a body of work that I just, like, I couldn't believe how good it made me feel doing it, regardless of how other people responded to it. It just, yeah, it was really, really magic. And I guess I maybe should have reflected a little bit more on like what it would mean for the rest of my life. But it just felt like there was not really another option at the time that I wanted to pursue. For me now, because I'm really at a point of my life where I'm like working lots and lots and lots in the studio, and it's how I'm making kind of all of my income. So it's both like an incredibly integral part of my life, but I also have to sometimes push it a bit to the side and say, no, like there are other things that I have to do.
How do you do that?
I think there's a bit of like healthy self-talk in there. And I think it's a lot of like nurturing of relationships, you know, like, and kind of trying to really switch off and say, I don't need to think about that thing right now. I actually just need to be present with my friends or with my partner or with my family.
So when I asked you about your approach to self-care, you did say something really interesting to me about saying no to things as being a part of like how you view self-care. Like self-care isn't just the things that you do, it's also the things you don't do.
Totally.
Talk to me about that.
I think it's like often, and I mean this in the context of like when I'm not feeling very well, like not like drinking coffee is often the first thing to, like, things that impact how my body feels. Bye-bye coffee, bye-bye alcohol often, you know?
Oh.
And also just like thinking about how you really want to spend your energy, which feels so valuable in those times. Like, is it a really big social thing, or is it a small thing with just like family, or like, or you know what I mean? Is it something more intimate?
Well, I know everyone always says like time is money. I never fully understood that concept, but I read a book about, I'm super lame, about productivity,
Okay.
which is probably not a good self-care tip. But they did kind of raise some really interesting points about the value of your time. And every time you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And I was like, whoa, mind blown. Like, I won't reply to that email then, or whatever it is. Like, I guess like just being more mindful about how you spend your time and saying no to stuff is so important to make sure that you're aligning with your values and that you're focusing on the stuff that really matters. Like, time is not infinite. You will, in fact, not to bring up death on a self-care podcast, but you will, in fact, cark it one day. So you want to make sure you're using your time for the right things.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. And like, yeah, it just being mindful about like, what do you really want from those hours or hour? And sometimes it might be like, I really want to do lots and lots and lots in this time. But sometimes it might just be like, I don't really want to do that. Or maybe I do need a sick day or whatever.
Yeah.
Shh, don't tell anyone I said that, you know.
A mental health day, watching Real Housewives. Love it.
Perfect.
And then what about drinking? Curious to know your relationship with alcohol.
Overall, I have a pretty good relationship with alcohol. I'm not a big drinker, especially as I get a little bit older. I find less and less a desire to drink. But I was recently, about a year ago, I was living overseas in Spain, in Barcelona, which was so much fun. And it's an incredible city, but doesn't have like tons of outdoor spaces. So if I wanted to go kind of enjoy the outdoors, very often you'd go to a bar with a friend and have a delicious like vermouth or something and a little drink, which was always really, really fun. But I think I got to the end of that time and I kind of just felt like full all the time.
Yes, fair. You kind of wanted to reset. Sydney's a good city for that too.
Yeah, very much. So I got back and I stopped drinking and then I was like, I'm loving this, you know?
So then you found you had more energy? What did you find?
I found I just felt a little bit more like, almost like I felt like I could stretch more or something. Like overall I do have a good relationship with alcohol. And there's times that I like really enjoy drinking with my friends. But taking the break made me appreciate it more. When
I'm not drinking, I will kind of go for a bitters and soda as well. If I feel like I just want to moderate my drinking, but not be like all out of the drinking game altogether. So we've spoken a bit about the stuff you consider not doing as part of your self-care kind of strat, but is there anything you brought back with you from your travels around self-care?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different things. Big time is nature and water. On a personal kind of like selfish level, I'm really feeling bad. Spending time looking at the water with the horizon and the
What
sky
is
above it.
that? What is that makes us like feel that way? Hey.
I think it's like I've always thought for me it was about seeing that on the other side of that there was a much bigger world full of like
Yeah.
like the escapism almost. You know what I mean? That not feeling so trapped because actually over there's maybe a different life going on.
Yeah, you're a drop in the ocean, I guess, is that what the saying comes from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is I guess can make you feel good or bad, but sometimes it really just
I think it makes you
loosens
feel
it up.
good.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, the stuff that you're stressing over is really not that important. It's not that deep.
Yeah. I do find this like it's so much easier to give advice than it is to hear it. You know?
I know. I feel like from doing this podcast, my aim is to be a massive expert on
Yeah.
kind of like happiness, self-care, the little things you can do to make your life more meaningful. But it's actually going to be super hard. And I'm going to take everyone on a journey to kind of show the things that I've taken up from each person that I speak to.
Totally.
So I think obviously you're going to have to teach me. I'm going to have to come down to your studio. I
Yeah,
think.
totally. Give it a go.
I know, I'll give it a go. Because making things with your hands, what does that give you?
I think what it gives me is like autonomy. Like it's kind of the mechanism by which I can practically live my life. Like it gives me an income. It also gives me like the emotional sustenance of like, oh, I'm living my life maybe the way it should be lived in a way. And also here's the secret. It's really, really fun when you get it right. It's really exciting. It's really gorgeous and like beautiful and electrifying when it all comes together and comes out well and you open the door to a kiln and you're like, hot damn, like I did it. You know, I've done that thing that I'm always kind of looking for, which doesn't happen often or all the time.
I was going to then ask you because that sounds great. But what happens when it doesn't go right?
Oh, I think, okay, first and foremost, it always doesn't go right. Like that's just a really, really important part of the process is that it does not always go right. And it can't. And if it did, it would be more boring in a way.
But that does stress me about
Yeah.
you being surrounded by such nice pieces and being in like a kind of like an adult home with all your lovely ceramics.
Yeah.
Do you get stressed that this one of a kind piece that you've got that was given from a friend, that was made by a friend
Yeah.
in France in this one-off like beautiful moment, do you get stressed that you're going to break things? And how many things have you broken?
Okay, I've broken lots.
Okay.
And I think there's something...
not good, but like good that you're not perfect.
It happens lots and semi-regularly.
Okay.
I think as well, like, I really think of ceramics breaking, they shatter into thousands of pieces. I think that is a really iconic way to go. Like, I would, like, that's how I want to go out of here. I want to explode and, like, leave bits of myself everywhere. You know? So I kind of like that that's a part of the process because it is inescapable. They break, and that's part of them. One, it's like an opportunity to buy something new, which is always fun.
Yeah, cute.
But there are a couple. There's only really one. There's that plate by my friend who is no longer with us, and if that broke, I think I would find that really hard to get over.
Can you save them? Like if they break, you know, could you put it all back
Totally.
together?
And but there are a few pieces I would do that with. I think once something's broken, like
let it die. Like a
maybe-
relationship.
maybe it's
broken,
time to
babe.
go, you
Yeah,
know?
it's the door.
and they break. That's what they do. I can't change that.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, get over it. That's what I say.
Them. Yeah.
Just buy something else.
Yeah,
From
fair
me,
enough.
please.
Yeah, exactly. I have story time, and it is my only ever experience of pottery. It wasn't ideal,
Yeah,
but I
shit.
feel, again, I think I was being critical of like, oh my God, it needs to be this perfect mug. And then it's
Totally.
really hard to do the little mug thingy, you know,
The handle.
Yeah, handle.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
What's that called again? Handle. And then we put it in the kiln.
Mm,
We left and went on and lived our lives.
totally.
And then my friend messaged me 2 months later and was like, we forgot to go back and pick up our mugs. And then I never got them.
In
And
the
that's
bin,
my
man.
only
That's where they are. They're in the bin
Really?
now. Well, I don't know. It depends on the place, I guess. But like maybe
Probably.
landfill vibes, you know?
Oh, no. Well, okay, that
I'm
makes
here
it
to
feel
make you
really
feel
bad.
Yeah,
One thing I'm curious about as well is you've spoken a bit about self-care aligning with your values.
Yeah, I think because, like, to some degree, like, if we think about self-care only as, like, an individual thing, it's, like, quite self-indulgent in some way. Like, there is some aspect of it that's only about caring for yourself. And often a really good way for self-care, I think, is to think about how you interact with your communities and the communities that are around you. And for me, in terms of my practice, it's about trying to make things in an ethical and sustainable way. Whether that be like a lot of the materials I use to make clays or glazes are all like recycled, things that I was kind of snatched out of the process of them going towards landfill. Or it's about trying to work with different materials. Like a couple of the clays I use, I get imported from Japan. And that's really about trying to find a way to work a little bit less with kind of stolen land and stuff like that. Which it's like not a foolproof way because it's like importing something, getting it sent far away. For a long time, I had a practice with a friend. We made lots of pots together, and often we would do projects and we would kind of donate to a land council afterwards if we used specific land from a certain area that we knew of or something. And she was really, really good like that and about kind of setting me straight on those things and really teaching me a lot about stuff that I hadn't really thought about because I kind of grew up as a pretty like middle-class guy in Sydney, you know, and trying to reestablish and reevaluate those things of how do I bring those sustainable practices into my own work? And then how do those things like impact the world that I'm a part of, you know?
Well, one thing I was curious about is if you saw those practices play out in France as well.
Yes and no. Like I think recycling materials totally like because that kind of comes from a place of like sustainable practice, but also out of like stinginess. You know what I mean? It's like how and not trying to create waste. But yeah, I think those practices were kind of they're a bit different. They're kind of unique to the context. And in France, it was kind of very different. Like also in France, this village that I was living in, Le Bourne, it was really famous because for its like wood firing. So it was kind of imagine big kilns. Like some of them, you know, you could easily host like a dinner party, and there were huge spaces that were getting heated exclusively through wood. And a lot of the people, it's really interesting because I always thought, oh, that's not very good. Like we're cutting down all these trees to burn. And they would say, no, no, no. Well, one, it's like a renewable resource, but also like the village was in the forest. So they were saying, no, no, no. Like all the fumes that we make, all the smoke that we make gets absorbed by the trees around us. And like, so it was interesting to think about those ethical practices, like kind of being culturally informed as well.
Especially somewhere where it has been 800 years of this practice being
Totally,
yeah.
totally. And like sourcing, like the reason why it's been about 800 years there, it's because of the geology of the area. It's because of the clay that's available locally. So it's using a material that's from that area and reconstituting it and turning it into something that can be used by lots of different people in lots of different ways.
I want to ask you because your giving icon, you were featured in Vogue.
Yeah.
Was that really crazy?
It was pretty tight when it happened. I like through one of my incredible stockists, they got me into like a shoot for an interior design firm, and then one of those images ended up being printed in Vogue, and it was really it was huge for my ego, which is already pretty inflated, so that was pretty nice.
Sick.
But it was really interesting because I feel like although that was something that really made me feel good, it wasn't something like I made money out of or anything. But it was something that people in my life really responded to as kind of a milestone of success, which is really interesting. Be like, oh, like this has happened to you now. Like you must be like killing it. And I'm kind of like, no, I'm still like trying to pay my bills and like really banging my head against the wall, you know?
That's always a thing though. I think things look a certain way from the outside. Whether they're actually that way is so different. Even with my title and my job and stuff. My early 20-year-old self would be like, whoa, that's so cool. But then when you're living it, you don't like give yourself that same respect. It's just like becomes your life. And I think if you think that way about things, I'll be happy when XYZ thing happens. It's never going to work.
You'll always move the goalpost on yourself.
I know, it's terrible. So you're never going to be fully, I mean, if we're going really deep, through life, you're never going to be fully complete or finished as a human, I guess. None of us will. Actually, a friend of mine gave me a sticker that said, you are still evolving. And I was like, I can always find things to be offended by. And I was like, am I going to be offended by this? Am I not perfect? What do you mean by this? But I think if we're looking at it in a kind way, obviously that's very true. So that kind of practice that you have with your work and with your art, do you see that come through in your attitude to life?
Totally. I think it's very much in the way that my brain interacts with most anything is like not necessarily needing to know or envisioning so much like an outcome, but just getting excited by the idea of doing something or like being involved in the process or seeing what happens in the process of doing anything, whether it's like ceramics or whether it's just social or whether it's life or whatever. I think it's sometimes like a good bit of advice to follow for people who like have perfectionist tendencies, who have
the judging look that you just get me have perfectionist tendencies.
Because I think it's just a great way to disappoint yourself. Often, you know, I think envisioning a final result of something and like measuring it only against whether you get there is one that's kind of sometimes impossible in ceramics. So I think I've learned it from there that like I will have an idea of something that I want to make and then I'll go and make it. And actually the interesting part is not that it doesn't look like the thing that I wanted to make, but rather what happens in that process organically and what those materials are talking about or trying to do as you experiment with different things.
Obviously, you run your own business, which is inherently, I guess, stressful, or there's certain commitments on you.
Totally.
But then you also seem to have this very relaxed bird's eye view and mindset about life. How do you balance running a business, the stresses that come with that, but also slow living, I guess?
I think it is a big challenge, honestly. And I think there are times that it's really easy to keep both of those things within the same line of sight. And there are times that I feel totally stuck in either or, you know, and I think maybe just being a little bit kind to myself during those times. Like there's been actually in the past couple of weeks, I've had some real kind of stresses with my like practice and my business. And I've been really leaning on the people that I love in my life. And they've been so gorgeous and there to take care of me during that time. You know, and talking about kind of big picture ideas rather than just the intricacies of a really niche kind of problem is sometimes a good way to kind of work through something. For a long time, I had this Sunday tradition with one of my closest friends. We called it Sunday Wine Downs, and we would get out the projector, we would watch a movie, and we would just say goodbye to Sunday together and eat some delicious food or something. And really laughing a lot with a good friend on a Sunday night before getting into bed after a gorgeous day where you can still feel the sun on your skin. That's a pretty perfect Sunday for me.
What would your advice be to people who are looking to start to dabble into being more creative?
I think creativity is such kind of like a vague word in a way. It can mean so many different things. Like for example, I've got a good friend in my life, and they're a lawyer, and so their work life is not creative in that sense. But see them like set a table and cook a meal and tell me that's not creative. Like it can be anything. It can be like how you set up your room or whatever. Like take the win where it comes. I think some of the really great artists in my life that I know are kind of so insane that really the only way they can interact and communicate with the world is through making something. And you can see it from their practice, the work that they make, but also it extends to every part of their life, even to like how they drive and stuff. You're like, oh my God, this is terrifying, you know? But creativity just kind of exists in so many different ways. I think a good way to get started with it, I'd say my bit of advice, is do it with someone you like, you know? Whether that be someone you love, a friend, a lover, whatever. Try it out with someone you like first. Be in it with a team. It might be easier, you know?
I love that, especially because we're so online, obviously, and being so inherently online through your work or just through like socializing or connecting with people, whatever, uploading like a hot pic, whatever it might be, takes you so far away from your physical self.
Totally.
How do you deal with being online and like what's your relationship like with social media?
It could be a whole lot better. I spend too long scrolling.
Really?
I've like
Are you a doom
developed that.
scroller?
Yeah, I think I just like have developed that neural pathway, and now my brain is like, you really want that tiny screen all the time? I'm like, no. But I think I need to get back into it. But for a long time, I put my phone would have a sleepover in the living room every night, and I would be like, bed with a no phone space.
What about your partner? Is your partner creative?
Very much so.
Yeah.
An incredible writer and painter as well. Yes, very, very creative. Absolutely.
So your house is full of creative things.
Yeah, it's full of two tired people often, you know?
Yeah, we're done with being creative when
Well, that's actually really funny because I often have friends that will be like, oh, let's do some kind of craft afternoon thing. And I'm like, God, no. Like, I just want to do my tax on the weekend, or, you know, I want to like use the other part of my brain a bit.
Yeah, do you find it you have to be so mindful with your work? Do you just sometimes, how do you actually switch off?
I think I'm really lucky. Like I have a studio that I go to, and then I also have a home that I live in. And that little drive between the two is really about like rejigging my brain and going somewhere else, you know, and just spending time with the people that I love.
What do you do on your drive?
Okay, so I always listen to the radio. I love listening to the news. I find that a really good way to distract.
Really? That's so funny. That's not what I would imagine from you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. I listen to the news all day, every day. That's kind of what I love to do. I find it great kind of just to anchor myself a bit in the world sometimes.
So I don't collect much, but something I am collecting is life advice. You told me yours was to work it out by working it out. What does that actually mean?
For me, that's totally about kind of the process of doing something and forming the result. It's kind of the extended version of that. And that can apply from like my ceramics practice, but also to kind of any kind of greater life issue, just by kind of working at it and working in it and staying within the process. Just doing that is kind of a result, you know?
What do they say? Action leads to motivation versus waiting to actually start a thing. Yeah, another kind of like mind-blowing thing when I got told that. I was like, you could be waiting forever to have the energy to like start something or
like the right circumstance to get a result that you've already imagined, but actually like just working in it and staying in that process is okay. And it's kind of a result in itself.
It's funny because when you actually do those things, it's like I want to set myself up or I want to like, it could be the smallest thing ever. Like I CBF going to Pilates, but I will, if I go, I always feel better having gone, obviously. And like the motivation that comes from doing the things that you know you should do, but like is really hard to actually do sometimes.
Yeah.
Like your winter swims. How do you do that?
Oh, I think I do really love doing that though. Like that's, and I don't stay in for long because I'm a little bit of a cold water wimp, but yeah, I do love doing that.
You're like, no, that's easy. That doesn't count. Whereas for me, that would be so hard.
Well, the idea of doing Pilates sounds totally abhorrent to me, but you know, I get it, you know?
Let me tell you, I only recently started and it is good. I was very intimidated by the machine, like the reformer Pilates machine. It's like a very certain kind of, like I feel you have to be really fit to do it or really flexible or whatever, but no, but you don't.
Okay, really?
Yeah, well, I do it and I'm not either of those things. So I was like, okay, you can do it. And so just starting again and being like, no one actually cares what you look like in those classes as well. Everyone's just like focused on themselves. So
totally.
It's so silly to be like, I'm not going to try this thing that I'm interested in because I'm intimidated by everyone else who's there.
Yeah, and it's like, it's about like just doing it, you know?
Yeah, just do it. And then now all of a sudden I'm someone who goes to Pilates. Like, shock horror.
Incredible.
I'm on a free trial of a Pilates place. It's all very exciting. What do you think has happened to all the people who started pottery in lockdown?
I think a lot of people like still do it. It's what I hope and imagine. But there's obviously people that don't. But I think irrespective of that, like often people start doing ceramics and they want it to be like become a really important part of their life, and then sometimes they want to monetize it as well. But actually it can just be a nice, unique experience that like maybe it's not about like doing it all the time, but it's about like looking at a handmade object or an industrially made object and kind of knowing a bit more about that process and kind of demystifying it a little bit. Because ceramics is literally everywhere. Like it's in your kitchen, it's also like in the bathroom, like it's everywhere. It's like bricks and, you know, like it kind of permeates a lot of different parts of our lives. And that was so incredible about it for me when I learned about it. I was like, oh my God, this thing is everywhere.
Okay, Remy, we're coming to the end of our chat.
Damn.
I know, it's sad. You can come back anytime.
Oh,
Drop by a ceramic piece. I have learned so much from you. I definitely think there's some stuff that I can take away as to like getting back connected to my hands and actually writing.
And to what the process of the practice is maybe.
Yeah, and just doing that without judgment and having fun. And even if it doesn't come out,
it's just about doing it.
And smashes into a million pieces.
Yeah.
That's fun too. Obviously, you're doing a lot of teaching.
Come along sometime, do a class.
Yes, I'll do a class.
And see, you might go, wow, I totally hate this, you know?
No. I can't do that now. I feel like I have the full context as to why
it matters.
I don't mind if you hate it. That's no, I won't. Whether I'll come back and pick it up.
Yeah, no, you better do.
No, I will do that. Or you'll use it again.
Yeah.
But no, I'll come pick it up.
Yeah, perfect. Much better.
This Junkie Media series is executive produced by Alice Griffin, that's me, and Jannah Anderson, and produced by Evie, Georgiou and Talecia, Vescio. Thanks to Angostura Bitters for making this episode possible. It's our fave addition to Nolo drinks this dry July.